Welcome to Finding Magic, the podcast series where each week I sit down with someone new to discover where they find their magic and explore the wonder, creativity and connection that makes life magical. I'm Beverley Bishop, and I've been on my own journey of finding magic since 2018 after the loss of my son Jess. It began with a play I wrote called Finding Magic, which explored my grief and my path towards rediscovering joy. Today, we're delving into the magic of medicine, where innovation, dedication, and sometimes the unexplainable come together to heal and give hope. And our guest today is Paul Greenhalgh, whose son underwent a special cancer treatment in Austria. We're going to talk about the incredible medical advancements that made this treatment possible, the journey they went through as a family, and the moments of magic they found along the way. Paul, thank you so much for joining us.
Lovely to be here.
So can you tell me about your son Angus's diagnosis and how you first heard about the treatment in Austria?
Yes, it was sort of revealed in a sort of bit-by-bit process, really. He had various issues with health. He'd got problems with his gut, he'd got bloating, he'd got constipation, and then he started to have issues around tightness in his joints, particularly hip.
And how long did they go on for until Angus thought, actually, I need to get this checked out?
Well, I think it was probably 2020, late 23.
Mm-hmm.
And things didn't really sort of become more recognisable as ill health until 2024.
OK, so it was a full year, you'd say?
I'd say he'd probably been going, very close to a year before really they started to treat him in a more serious fashion.
Right.
And it was at that point, really, that somebody decided they would do an MRI scan, because I think their thinking was there's something going on here that's got nothing to do with constipation or gut problems. There's something bigger that's maybe generating some of these things. So it was after the MRI scan that they discovered that there was something. They did some blood tests and found, yes, there were cancerous cells in the blood. And it was then really a matter of pinpointing where it was.
OK, and where was the cancer?
It's right at the base of his spine on the sacrum, so really almost just where the coccyx is. So it's an extremely difficult place to get at physically, as well as deal with finding out how it is situated, how big it is, without going through much more rigorous tests and probably x-rays that he had to have.
OK. And for you as a father, it must have been absolutely devastating to discover that your son's got cancer.
Absolutely gobsmacked. He'd been such an athletic guy. He'd been playing tennis, he did walking and running, he did swimming, he did football, tennis. He was really out and about doing stuff a lot of the time. And he, as a DJ, he also did various sets. Most nights he did pub quizzes. He was also doing artwork and murals. He put together all kinds of interesting art installations. So he was very busy.
Yeah, very fit, active and creative.
Absolutely. And to see him, I suppose it was like a degeneration of the persona that he had, that he actually sometimes puts on for an audience, but I understand the persona of how he really is.
And you knew.
And I knew that there was something not right here.
Yeah.
And I think after lots of conversations with medical professionals, clinicians, I think they narrowed it all down and understood that this was called a chordoma. It's extremely rare, 1 chance in a million of you actually getting it. And so really to find that it was where it was, what it was, and then finally to see a scan and an X-ray, we got an idea of the size of it.
Okay.
And it was bigger than we expected.
Okay. And was treatment initially offered in England?
Yes. Yeah, we went down, Jackie and I, my wife and I, and we went to join him, his partner Emma, and his mum Rosie, and we went to a centre of excellence for cancer treatment, and it was on the outskirts of London, and the surgeons came out after having looked at all the information that they've got. Basically, their view was that it needed to come out and it needed to be surgery. And so all the processes they talked about were surgical processes. And it was at that point that I think Angus was... I could see his face changing and his demeanour changed, as it did for me and his mum, that it became something that he couldn't comprehend. He then asked the question, if you were to do this, what's the outcome? And the outcome really was, you'll probably be in a wheelchair. You'll probably have to have a colostomy bag. You'll have to deal with all the issues that go with being either wheelchair bound or, wired up so that your bodily functions work properly.
Goodness, Paul, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. That must have just been terrible to hear.
It just got me, really right slap bang in the middle, and I could feel every nuance of his thinking. Really, I could just tell that he was so shocked. He didn't really want to live with the concept of dealing with this purely on an invasive technique.
Yeah. So the doctors in England were recommending surgery. So how did you first hear about this treatment in Austria?
That was primarily down to, we set up a group online called Next Steps, and we therefore all could contribute and put things there. And we decided that the best thing was we all went away and started to do some research about what is a chordoma. There is a chordoma foundation that had a tremendous amount of library information. It had expertise, it had knowledge. And so we were using as many outlets as possible, together with finding people who had similar things through social media. And it was, generally speaking, I suppose, it was about working out what was a likely route forward if you're not going to have surgery. And it seemed at the time that there were a number of options that were different from the options that were given initially for surgery. And therefore there was people who would said, well, we can do the surgery, but you won't lose your motor nerves, etc. We'll do skin grafts and we'll do nerve grafts. So that sounded like an option, if you like. Yeah. Together, then we looked at all the other non-invasive techniques, and that was proton beam therapy, which is quite well known and used in the UK as well as globally. And then through additional research and discussion, we found that in America there were 2 locations where they were looking at various other forms of therapy through beams or through either. I wouldn't say that it was like having some of the medications that you get now, that all your hair drops out and all the rest of it.
Like a different kind of radiotherapy, if you like.
It was. It had a different name, different level of impact. And then I think they narrowed it down to about 2 or 3 routes that they could take. One was to Austria, Vienna, because they were doing something called carbon ion therapy. And that was a different form of source material. It wasn't as radioactive as it could be in other forms, like the proton beam is much more radiation based. This wasn't. And they looked at another one that was based around. I suppose you'd have to call it like a scanning technique that had various elements part of it that delivered. I'm not quite sure, but it delivered waves of some sort, and those waves were supposed to relieve your symptoms to a greater degree, but also to minimally probably deal with the tumour itself. So this was looking more around the side effects rather than the tumour itself.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't too long before they decided that they would go to the Austrian one to have a look at and talk to the surgeons and the experts who might be able to do this. And they put him through an assessment which I think was very well conducted from what I hear. And Angus, I think he lost quite a lot of the fright that he'd had from hearing what might be a result in the UK, or the fact that there were options out there that could actually help him move forward, either certainly to getting a degree of relief from the tumour itself, but also potentially for a complete cure. I mean, they were very positive about what they felt they could do.
And have you any idea why this treatment wasn't available in England? Is it because it was so new and hadn't...
It's very new, but it's also extremely costly.
Right.
And you need to have very specialist equipment to do it. It's not just something that's available, in your local store somewhere. It's not an MRI type thing. It's not a scanner. It's a much bigger tool altogether, and they've had to have a whole room dedicated to the machinery that they use. So I think that and the source material is limited.
Okay.
By cost and by availability.
So in a sense, at the moment, the cost is prohibitive from the, by the NHS. It simply can't afford to offer this kind of treatment. No, and I imagine that that cost would have been a huge factor for Angus and yourself about, okay, this treatment could cure me, but it's cost a lot of money.
Sure did.
What do you do next?
Yeah. And that, I think, I think they'd got it in their mind. Emma is extremely good.
And Emma is Angus's partner.
Angus's partner.
Yeah.
And she was right on the money. She said, I think we've got to go funding. When we looked at the various costs, the cost in the UK was going to be somewhere in the region of 150,000, 160,000. The costs in the American one and the Italian one was another one, were both over 100,000. And the cost in Austria was 55,000. So as they'd chosen that as a top option for them to go down, they put out a GoFundMe exercise and put on their 60,000 as the limit. And within 3.5, 4 days, they had the money.
Goodness me. Again, the generosity of human beings is something else, isn't it?
Staggering. And we put on, with Jackie and I here in Norfolk, we put on various funding exercises as well. Jackie got her ukulele out and the group that she plays with, and they were doing a bit of concert work. And we had a whole sort of craft sale that we set up with. I was making bread rolls and people were doing stuff. And we raised somewhere in the region of 6,000.
Wow.
Which was fantastic.
Yeah.
For our local people, our local community, were just the tops. They were fantastic. And so they got the money. And in that case, the Austrians said, well, you know, you paid for it, come on over. So that's what they did. And I watched Angus's demeanour, his whole sense of being move into a different gear. I think he started to act and talk and be like his old self to a certain extent.
Yeah, okay.
And I think
so he's had the treatment, and the treatment's been successful.
Yeah.
Has the tumour gone, or is he? Where are things at?
At the moment, I think the tumour has reduced in size. It's lost round about, I think they said, 3 or 4 centimetres, maybe more, maybe 5, in size, in radius. So I think that's a clear sign that the carbon iron has done a fantastic job by reducing and showing that it can be reduced in size and it can be killed. And so, yeah, he's still got tissue there that, of course, is intermingled already with blood vessels, nerves, and any other sort of natural organisms that are sitting around that area. And I guess our next phase really is going to be about what techniques have been evolving over time. And the Cordoma Foundation have said they would like very much to suggest or put forward plans that particularly the immune system and immunosuppressive type approaches to it, they now can target and they can program killer T cells, which you have in your body anyway, and they can be programmed to find cancerous cells and kill them. At the moment, they are not able to do that because their programming already isn't as refined as it should be to pick up on the kind of cancerous cells in Angus's tumour. So there's a bit of work there, but things have moved
Things are
on
definitely moving forward by the sounds of it.
So quickly.
I mean, isn't medicine an amazing and wonderful thing?
It is.
Quite extraordinary.
Yeah, I mean, you call it magic, and it is magical in so many ways. It's magical. Magical for you, the being who's got the problem. It's magical for the results that can come out of it.
Yeah.
And how you as a being can change.
Yeah.
You can go downhill, but then the trip back uphill is amazing.
Yeah, because it sounds that, you know, as well as physically, Angus has been transformed psychologically as well as a result of that treatment.
I think so. I think he's learnt, his mortality. He's learnt about the fact that people have been so spontaneously supportive, and have backed him 100%.
Which must be a boost.
Wow. I mean, to know that your friends are your friends, really, and that your family supports you, and we were all there for him all the time. So I think, it was just an eye-opener.
Yeah.
For all of us, actually.
Yeah. And to what extent do you think that hope and belief paid in his recovery?
I think once those got switched on, I think they were of enormous value to him in terms of his health, his demeanour, his opportunity, as he saw it, for living a life he wanted to live, and for remaining as a person who everybody knew well. He was not somebody who'd been transformed into a different being. He'd retained his persona and his
core self, if you like. Yeah.
And that's coming back bit by bit all the time. So I think, this year I think will show further improvements, further change, further positive ways forward. It's made us all kind of think really hard about life and what it means to somebody with a problem like that.
Absolutely. So how would you say that this experience might have, changed you? Because it must have been so traumatic for you because you were with him every step of the way.
It really did in the early stages really get to me that it was as bad as it was. And I think I've always been a real pragmatist. I really believe that there was a way forward and that it might be a bit tedious and a bit slow, but I always somehow felt that there must be a way forward because so much work's been done and our research told us there were opportunities and options. So I started to rebuild my confidence bit by bit. And the more I saw of Angus and talked to him about it all, the more I think my confidence grew even stronger. And he and I are now going away next month for a few days to the Lake District, because that's an area where my childhood was spent. And to a certain degree, when Angus was very small, I took him to the Lake District. And he won't remember that, but he wants to know where my youth was spent.
Okay.
And how did that help in my evolvement into who I am today? And so it'll be interesting talking to him and showing him.
And spending some quality time with him.
Yeah.
And I mean, is that one of the things that has perhaps changed you, is you've become more aware of the importance of time, spending time with people who you love?
That's absolutely true. I think I have, and it's easy to, rumble along your pathway as a life that you've got, and given the distance between where we are and where Angus is.
Angus lives in Brighton, doesn't he? Yes. Yeah.
It's easy to forget. I need to make a phone call, social media is helpful, but at the end of the day, I like to see him. As I said to him, what I want really is to have a dad hug with you.
Yeah.
And I need to be there to do that. I can't do it on social media. So we are, as far as we can anyway, always are mindful that I want to see him, whether it's up at ours or we go there, or there's another option like going to the lakes or whatever. So I find that something to look forward to and sort out.
Yeah,
I don't want to leave it.
Yeah, and that's something for me as well. That since losing Jess, that's something that I prioritise. Is my son Sam, he lives up in Scotland, so he's quite away, but we both make such an effort now.
Great.
Because it's really important, isn't it?
I think you don't ever realise how important, really, because I think you just become numb to it or immune to it, seeing the downside to not having that contact. And there is downside. You lose the sensitivity that you have about your son and how their life is evolving and what their stresses and strains are and difficulties. And, you're the experienced person, you're the older person. So there's a lot you can give.
Yeah. And shared experiences can really bring people together, can't it?
Yeah.
And, I mean, has this experience changed the way in which you see medicine and science?
Well, for me, I've always been an enormous fan and follower of science. What I want really for Angus is to enjoy life, and to see science as being something that will give him options always, give him feedback, give him good news. It's not something that's hidden away or should be hidden away. I think you need to see it, understand it, experience it, because I think there's a lot that they can still do for him. So for me, I love science and I believe in it.
And, as in the case with Angus, it can really save lives.
I think so.
Yeah.
I honestly believe.
And it does save lives, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is an amazingly. It does seem like magic. The fact that people can come up with these really complicated ways forward, scientific theories, the things that you wouldn't dream of, and yet they're out there and they're evolving so quickly. Yeah. And it's galloping away. So with AI now, I think all sorts of stuff's possible.
Indeed.
Brilliant.
Now, we're coming towards the end of our podcast, but before we do, I would love to send Angus a message, and I hope he'll be listening. So, Angus, you've got a super-duper dad, first of all, and I'm sure that you know that. I would like to send you all of my love and wishing you recovery, healing, and, of course, a happy life. Live life well, and sending you lots and lots of love from me. I know that you don't know me, but from the heart, I'm sending it to you. Thank you so much, Paul, for sharing your family's journey with us.
Thank you for asking me.
You're more than welcome. And the magic of medicine isn't just in the treatments themselves, but also in the resilience, the hope and human connection that make healing possible. So if you've been moved by today's conversation, consider supporting organisations that fund groundbreaking treatments, or simply spreading awareness about the incredible work being done in medical science. Thank you for listening to Finding Magic. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who might need a little magic in their life. Next time on Finding Magic, we're diving into a theme really close to my heart: finding the magic within.
Knowing your magic is a felt sense. So it's the things that you connect with in your life, the things that, might be a really small moment that just makes your heart just really sort of leap. So sometimes in learning how to find that sense, we can come to our greater magic.
The Finding Magic podcasts were recorded at Soundyard in Norwich and funded by the National Lottery Community Fund and Norfolk Community Foundation. This has been a Finding Magic production with me, Beverley Bishop, produced by Ian Seisland.